Good evening. I'll let Jen finish typing. Somebody just entered the waiting room and disappeared. Yeah, welcome. We have had a totally unprofessional start. It's 10 past, so I do apologise for you watching us eat the rest of our tea before we actually press record. Thanks for your patience, everybody. And you're representing the male side of the planet. That's good to have you on here, mate. Quite estrogen heavy today, but that's good. That's cool. You want to say anything before I ruin everything?
What are we going to say?
I'm going to shut that door. Right, as we usually say, like, just forgive us because Rusty is on one tonight. He's in and out. He's round and round. He's barking. He wants everybody's tea. He's just been a nightmare. Can you shut that when you come in? I know, it's a little bugger. Right, well, where are we up to?
I don't know. Dave said he's really tired tonight. I was like, oh, should I see if Kate would like to speak? Because I was speaking to her earlier and she's had this insight around something that she's sort of not seen before. And you're like, no, it's fine. I'll find something to say. And then I've seen you've just gone completely blank and looked at me. Yeah, one of the things we were talking about today was just how it can seem when we come across the principles that we are going to reach a place, and then when we reach that place we've found it, we've got it. And when we kind of do that, we often get quite arrogant and life humbles us, and we're kind of speaking around that this is more of like we've scratched the surface of something so huge, it's going to be the rest of our lives we get to see again and again and again the nature of it, but also how innocent it is, because what comes to mind looks and feels real for us. And if it feels like we've found something and we've got it and we're there, that's our universe, that's our reality in that moment. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think we were speaking about the humanness, and I told her about, I had a couple of days a few weeks ago when I was just like, I'm rubbish, no one likes me. And that situation, I'm a terrible person. Actually, I'm a terrible person. Everyone thinks I'm a terrible person. And I had this really weird couple of days when my mood just dropped. I was like, I shouldn't even be sharing. I shouldn't share the principles anymore. And then a couple of days after that, one of the things that we've always found significant are jay feathers. And I'd kind of popped out of it, but I was out on a run with my friend and I found some jay feathers, and they always, to me, seem like a little message, like, stop it, chill out. And then the day after, I got a really nice email from someone who lives in America. I've never met, never spoken to, and they've followed my videos kind of over the last 10, 15 years. And they were thanking me for sharing and my humanness. And I don't know, we were just saying how she's had a similar experience where she's got in her head about something and it feels like someone hasn't kind of respected something that she shared, and that's all she's had in front of her. And then when she stepped back today, she realized how many people send her beautiful messages and have thanked her for her stories and her sharing. And she said, isn't it weird how we can get so focused on one thing that doesn't seem right, or one comment that seems to offend us, and then we miss all of this other stuff. And she just said she'd kind of been sat today just kind of looking back over her life and seeing how often that had happened. And then she said she just laughed. And then she'd sent me a text message. I thought, I can't be bothered to text our phone. So I gave her a call. And we just sat on the phone and laughed together and sat in gratitude for having come across this. And knowing that there isn't a destination, we haven't got something. We've just become aware of what we already are to a small degree. And we're going to keep being able to become aware of what we truly are and what we're capable of forever. And that the getting stuck and the lost is so normal and so everyday, and there's nothing to worry about, and we can learn from it and we can grow from it. And I don't know, Paul said he was going to be on tonight, but we had a good chat earlier, and he said he was going to share, but I'm not sure if he was going to go out for a bike ride, so he might still be out. But yeah, it's just nice to have a few conversations with people about the ordinariness. the ordinariness, but then also the depth and the magic of the message.
Yeah, what we consider to be ordinary. What we consider to be ordinary, as in today. When you really look at it, it truly is the most miraculous event. When you really look at it, when you really look at now, whatever's happening, sat there listening to this, looking out the window, looking at the screen, maybe you can hear the kids upstairs screaming about something, I don't know. The ordinariness, the traffic driving past. I can hear jackdaws outside at the moment. They've all got young, and I can hear Rusty now. The ordinariness. The ordinariness of life. The ordinariness is when you really do look, it is the most miraculous thing. The ordinariness that we take for granted. The ordinariness where we just know what's happening. It's the ordinariness of mundanity, the ordinariness of boredom, the ordinariness of not being able to sleep at night, the ordinariness of an argument, the ordinariness of having not quite enough money, the ordinariness of depression, the ordinariness of worry, the ordinariness of falling off your horse. Is it not truly the most miraculous thing you can really consider? Is it not truly the most miraculous thing that you can actually consider? The ordinariness of everyday life. What is it? What is this ordinariness? What is it? What is it all about? Why is it? How is it? Because it's in the ordinary that the magic is found. We all go looking for extraordinary. We all go looking for magic in something we assume is extraordinary. We all go looking for ourselves in extraordinary places. We all go looking for happiness in extraordinary places. And we think that enlightenment is something that is extraordinary. Rusty, threatening to be sick. We're always on this search for the extraordinary. And yet, the extraordinary thing that is looking for the extraordinary isn't seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary. Hope I got that right. The extraordinary thing that is looking for the extraordinary quite often doesn't see it in the ordinary. The extraordinary thing being ourselves, this extraordinary event, this mundane event of infinite potential. The magic we're looking for, we are. We always have been. All we're doing is starting to realize it. That's all we're doing. That's all the principles are about. That's all they are about. That's it. It's waking up and realizing that we are the extraordinary event that we are looking for. We are the enlightenment that we are looking for. We are the joy. We are the peace. We are the excitement. And it's all in the ordinary. It's all in the everyday. You get up in the morning, you awaken in the morning, you awaken. You don't kind of go, oh, I've just woken, that's it, goal achieved, that's me for the day. I've done it. I woke up. You get up, you go put the kettle on, and you start. It's a new beginning. This is why there is no end. Each time you have a little revelation or a big revelation, it doesn't matter. You are a brand new beginning. You are stood at a fresh beginning in life. All these insights that just pop into our mind, they just come into our being in a moment, and they change the way we see something. It changes reality. They change reality. In this very, very ordinary way, the extraordinary takes form. Through our very being, this extraordinary event of consciousness, of dream state, of constant creation. I can smell crumbles. Everything we're ever looking for is right here, right now. Even the crumbles for Rusty. But they're not, because we ate them all.
He did actually have some crumbles earlier.
He did.
Or neither threw it on the floor, so he ate it.
Did you? Did you have
Said half
crumbles?
a
You'd be
crumble.
addicted to crumbles like us now. But at least it's not booja booja. It's usually them we're advertising. I remember hearing a story about Buddha. And apparently he just turned up to do one of his talks. And all he did was he picked a flower and he just studied it. He just looked at it. He looked at it. He looked at it. For however long the talk was supposed to be, he never said a word. He just observed creation. I remember when we were at the World Peace Pagoda, this was in Nepal, in Pokhara. There was a plaque that said, it was one of Buddha's quotes, if you can see the magic in a single flower, if you can see the magic in a single flower, your life will change. Paraphrased. I'm going to put you back down, Paul, because this sniffing thing. Yeah, in the everyday ordinary. If you can start to see the magic in the everyday ordinary. For example, Lise, you don't have to heal your neck, but your neck will heal. It's like you hurt yourself, you cut yourself, you damage yourself. Jen's mum's just snapped her leg. And the body just heals itself. It fixes itself. This machine that we walk around in fixes itself once we've damaged it.
Too bloody slowly.
Too bloody slowly.
This was weeks ago.
Is it, Lise? Oh, bless you, love. Yeah.
But it's getting there.
All in the mundane.
Yeah.
All in the mundane, everyday drudgery of being a human being. And we do it so well.
The words you're saying are just beautiful. Just beautiful today.
When she was talking having COVID, how she just lay there and just lived in the COVID.
Say it.
When Elsie Spittle was on the other week, she was saying that she'd had COVID really, really badly. but she'd enjoyed living in the COVID. She'd experienced all the aspects of it, the temperature, the sweats, the cold, the shaking of her teeth and all the rest of it. But she actually almost surrendered to it, and it just took its pace and just went. And she looked at that time as being a time of reflection. And what else did she say about it, and how much she learned actually in that space of being poorly and being sick, and the joy of eventually getting better.
I think also she said normally she'd listen to Sid's recordings or read Sid's books and things often, but in this time, like, she couldn't have anything. It was like it was information overload. She couldn't have any more information. She couldn't listen to anything. So it kind of made her go inside and get quiet. And she said that was the kindness. She said it called it the kindness of mind or something. She just said the kindness built into the intelligence built into her to know what to do, and that she kept wanting to like maybe distract herself, but she didn't. She stayed with it, and yeah, the gratitude that came across, and it sounded like she was really, really sick.
All this is part of being human. The ups and downs, the round and rounds, the heartache, the pain, the suffering, the grief, the joy, the love, the acceptance. This is all part of being human in this temporary incarnation. In this temporary incarnation, we come into this world. Everybody wants to know where we go afterwards. Everybody wants to know where do you go after you die, but nobody questions where did we actually come from before we were born. We come into this being. We take this physical form, all the vibration of energy, and then we walk through this life creating. As a creator, as an aspect of what some people call God, what some people call source, what Sid called mind. Call it energy, call it whatever the hell you want. Doesn't matter, these are just words. You come into this world, and the moment you open up your eyes, you start creating a reality. You start creating the experience of life. Life and experience are two different words to describe the same thing. You cannot have life without experience. And that goes for every single organism on the planet. Every single organism is an experience of the whole. An incarnation of one energy. An experience to see what it's all like. To see what it's like to be an ant, to see what it's like to be a flower, to see what it's like to be the bee that pollinates the flower, to see what it's like to be the bird that eats the bee, to see what it's like to be the cat that eats the bird, to see what it's like to be the dog that chases the cat, to see what it's like to be the human that smacks the bloody dog for eating the cat. If you really look at this life closely, you'll see that everything is experience. Everything is an experience. Everything is an experience. Everything is an experience. That's every single moment in our life, and that is every single organism and every single thing we look at. The experience of being rock, the experience of being planet, the experience of being sun, the experience of being moon. In this physical form, it's difficult for us to see that because we see the world through our senses. So we assume that what our senses deliver us is the ultimate reality. There are many, 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 many different forms of reality on this planet. There are many different realities, and I don't just mean separate realities in terms of human beings. I mean like many different sensory experiential realities where different organisms see different worlds. when you start to get a sense of that, you start to get the sense of the magnitude of what the fuck is truly going on in this universe. You start to get a sense of what your reality is, who you are, and what you're all about. You're not here by accident. You were chosen to be dreamt up. Every single one of us was chosen to be dreamt up, to undergo the experience of life, of whatever we undergo, with the free will to decide which way we want to go. How do we want to play this game? Do I want to make this decision? Do I want to make that decision? Do I want to get angry with that person? Do I want to chill the fuck out and mind my own business for a little while? Do I want to go here or do I want to go there? Do I want to take that job or not? And every time we make a decision, we form a new path in life. Some people call them timelines. You form a new timeline with every single decision you make in your life. And there is infinite timelines. There's infinite possibilities for a future. But there's only one person shaping it. And that's whoever we are. And that is whatever we are. I think one of the biggest struggles that humanity faces, if there is such a thing, is considering the idea that they are not who or what they think they are. We think of ourselves as finite, as though we have a beginning and an end, because we adopt a body. The body is energy. Body is a vibration of energy, like everything else. It's made of atoms. You ask any quantum physicist, what are atoms made of? They'll say energy. What's this world made of? It's made of energy. What's the sun? It's energy. What's looking out of your eyes? An energy. Everything is energy. It's all the same thing. Every single thought is a vibration of energy, vibrating through the vibration of consciousness, created by the vibration of consciousness. This vast, inexplicable, unspeakable force that enlivens every single thing on every single planet. And it's total freedom. It is the ultimate freedom. Freedom beyond this mind that we think with. What appears to be the mind that we think with is an ultimate freedom. That's who we truly are, an ultimate freedom, which can never have its wings clipped. It cannot have its wings clipped. It cannot be tethered down. It cannot be nailed to the floor. It can't even be nailed to a cross. There's an ultimate freedom lying at the heart of all beings. And it's covered up by thoughts. Thoughts that appear to create a prison. No matter what it is we are experiencing, no matter what time in humanity's history, it doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. If humanity is going through a great awakening right now, it's exactly the same thing as when humanity appears to be in a really stuck place. If humanity appears to be in a really stuck place right now, it's exactly the same thing as when utter freedom was about what appeared to be utter freedom. Because there were people who were really stuck in the utter freedom, imprisoned in their own minds. And there are people in this what appears to be closed down society to a degree who are feeling totally free. You see, it's not in the external world. Nothing is in the external world that we're truly looking for. We're truly looking for the thing that is within us, this ultimate freedom, this ultimate creator. You won't find it by thinking your way there. Thinking is just a wave within its own, a vibration within itself. It's what lies within everybody on earth. And when you find it, you find the extraordinary in the ordinary. You look at this life and you go, fucking hell. Fucking hell. What is all this about? You start to ask different questions. You start to become more interested in different things. You might lose a lot of friends. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You might have a hard time when you start to discover it. But once you get a taste of it and you feel it and you know it and you realize it's love, you'll never want to give it up. And you will spend the rest of your life with it on your mind. You'll spend the rest of your life with it, should I say, not continuously on your mind because you won't be doing anything, but you are so aware of it that you treasure it. And you are so thankful for the day that it walked into your life. Or should I say, you turned around and looked within and realized who you were. And that day will be your day. And nobody can take it from you. It doesn't matter what's going on the outside, in the outside world. It doesn't matter. Nobody can take it from you. It's who and what you truly are, and it's true of what everybody else is. We're just lost in this game called life, made of thought creating feeling and thought creating action, thought creating behavior, thought creating cults and ideologies and beliefs and systems. It's all created of thought. Monetary system is all a thought. It's only held together by belief. The monetary system is only held together because people believe in it. Governments are only held together because people believe in them. It's all thought. The whole game. Reality is only held together because of thought. And it's totally free. And it's every single one of us. Every single one of us. There is nobody exempt. It doesn't matter what label you've been given. It doesn't matter what you're experiencing. If you are experiencing the deepest hell on the planet, you are this magical force called consciousness. Because how could you possibly experience anything without the awareness? Without the awareness of it? Without the awareness of the experience? The darkest places on earth are made from the most magical stuff. The darkest places within our being are made from the most miraculous stuff, and they're made from exactly the same stuff as what creates the joy and the excitement in life. No separation. Just total freedom to experience everything, to create realities that look real. Total and utter freedom. You look out the window, you walk down the street, you look around the room, you look at your own body, and you go, hand, head, foot, as though that is something different to this, or that this here is something different to that. We go eye, as though the eye is something different to the mouth. We go nose, as though the nose is something different to the thigh bone. People go, of course they are. Your hand's different to your foot. Where does a hand start and where does a foot start? Or where does a foot end? It's like you go, well, it finishes at the wrist, and then you just realize, no, we're getting lost in words. In reality, your whole body is one thing. The whole body is one thing. We separate it off with words and ideas and beliefs, and we go hand, head, nose, eye, mouth, foot, knees, toes, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. But in reality, it's just one body. And it's only the words that create the illusion of a separation within it all. And that's what we do in life. That's what we do with one another. That's what we do in families. We go mother, father, sister, daughter. And then within societies, we say, well, there's these kind of people and those kind of people. And that's what we do in nature. We go, there's nature and there's humanity. We create all these divisions and separations, all because of words. All because of words. All because we have the capacity to dream up the idea of separation and live out of it. And this is the magic trick of life. It looks like there are millions and millions of things out there, when in reality there's one. We can't see it because the eyes take in light. That's all they do. They just take in light. Does anybody want Jack Russell?
Me!
He's yours, Lise. Come and get him. In fact, stuff it. I'm going to stick a stamp on him and stick him in the postbox.
Oh, I'd love him. You know, I would. See, I can't stand you two. I only come to see the bloody dog.
He's yours, Lise. But this is the trick of life. We are so wrapped up in the idea that there's so many things on this planet because we see it with our eyes. We see a tree and we see a wall. We look out there. We look out here. And we start reeling off all the things we can see. I can see a tree, I can see walls, I can see sheep, I can see the sky, woodlands, clouds. Spotted fly catcher nest. All these words that we We throw around left, right, and center, and each word creates the illusion of separation. And this is why we live. We live in this sensory experience. We live in the experience of the senses. These limited senses. Other beings, other organisms on this planet, they have different senses to us. Totally different senses. They pick up a different world. And we think the way that we see the world is a fact. We think the way that we see reality is true. We think the way we see reality is real. We think it's real. It's real according to our senses. It's real according to the fact that we are experiencing that. But like the tree in the middle of the field, it can change. But it will change quicker than the tree in the field. The tree in the field will change throughout the year. But you will change multiple times throughout the day. What's that Verve song? I'm a million different people from one day to the next. I can change my mind. Oh no, 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 no. Bittersweet Symphony, that's life. That's what it's called, isn't it? I'm a million different people from one day to the next. I can change my mind. All these characters we think we are. Oh, I'm this kind of person, I'm that. No, these are just characters. These are just ideas we carry around and live out of. What we've programmed ourselves with. All these programs we live out of. These programs are beliefs. Those beliefs are thoughts. They were just part of the dream. It's a beautiful thing when you start to wake up and realize the dream. You see it's all thought. Every single bit of separation we see in our body is a thought. Every single bit of separation we see within the family, within society, within the world, within the universe, it's all thought. The separation only exists in beliefs. We take one infinite source and we split it into infinite pieces. And we think that's the reality. We think that's the true reality, the divided singleness. Or perhaps we believe there isn't a singleness. Just divided everything. Well, if there is just this divided everything, these infinite things, where does it all come from? You ask any quantum physicist, they'll say it's made of energy. Everything is made of energy. It's all energy. It's all energy. Energy is permanent. Form it takes is impermanent. But you cannot create more energy or destroy energy. It cannot be created or destroyed. It just is. It just is. And all we're talking about tonight is starting to get a sense of that part of life. The fact of reality, the true reality. The true reality exists not in what we experience. That's up for grabs. That's the ever-changing. That's the birth and death in every single moment. But the true reality lies behind this veil of reality. It doesn't help he's going deaf.
Yeah.
Just barking for barking's sake now. True reality. The true reality isn't found in what we think. Lise, Ellery,
She doesn't want him. She doesn't want
can you do us a
Rusty.
favour? Let's take a break. We'll come back at 8 o'clock. I'm going to go and put my dog down.
He does down.
Down the drive. Right, we'll take a break. We'll come back at 8 o'clock. Just so
So
you know.
weird.
Yeah. So thanks for your patience, everybody.
I was thinking when you were talking, we've got a group with Dickon where we send nice pictures and things. And the other night, Lisa had put up pictures of her tree that's being eaten by caterpillars. And I went and saw it the other day. It was like this tree is literally getting destroyed by caterpillars, but the caterpillars are just so happy, and there's just so many of them. And when you came up and you'd just been watching the jackdaws?
Yeah.
Eat the butter and the eggs and the milk and just had attacked everything. But instead of trying to stop them, you filmed it because they just looked so happy you left them to it.
They were well excited.
But I just think it's those ordinary things that we so easily miss when we're caught up in our heads. We don't mean to miss them, but those kind of things are just, it's amazing. And just the intricacies and we've been sleeping out in a tent the last, 4 nights? And the jackdaws seem to wake us up around 2 or 3.
It's about 3 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
isn't it?
They just get really loud. But just being able to lay out there and listen to them, and we've been a bit tired actually, because we have been woken up a lot, but I don't know, you just sit and listen to them and they're communicating. They've got their own world, their own reality. And it's just as
viable.
Just as important and part of. And I've watched, Dave always checks the shower completely in case there's any insects or spiders or anything in there so he can get it out before. And I've just thought back how innocently I probably have washed so many things down the plug hole without even thinking to look for them. And I think that's one of the things I've loved, is starting to see the importance in everything and noticing things. I never would have deliberately done it, but I just wouldn't have noticed. I'd been busy in my head, planning the day. But there is something about being more present, even if it is with discomfort, or it's been interesting watching my mum, because she's 7 or 8 weeks in now to when she broke her leg, and she's got this sort of comfortable garden chair that they bought right at the beginning, and she's either sat in that chair in the garden, or in that chair in the conservatory, or in that chair in the living room. And so it's like the same chair, and you've seen her go through so many different experiences. But she said it's like she has felt her mind slowing down, and she said it's like there's a message in this for me, and that's what makes sense to her. There's a message in this for me. And she has, some of the conversations I've had with her have just been about what's in front of us, like being sat in the garden and she's noticed things or heard things, or there's a plant she's pointed out. And then there's been times, I think I spoke about it a couple of times on group, but getting caught up in everything that's happening in the world at the moment, and really heady discussion. And there's about 4 or 5 of us. And I remember I was sitting in the garden and I could hear the hum of the bees, and it was sunny, it was hot. There was just the colours in my mum's garden, it was so vibrant. And I thought, this is where we are. This is where we're sat, physically, but we can dream up potential futures and feel it now, and feel it in our body now, and feel the adrenaline of it. But right now we're sat here.
Or other world events, events that are taking place around the globe, because we have news and immediate access to information. It's like you can take on the weight of the world, and almost like it's your duty to, it feels like you can feel like it's your duty to know what's going on in the world and take on that weight when you just lay in the sun. In reality, you're just laying in the sun, listening to the insects.
It's not a judgment thing. Like, it's not right and wrong. Like, that's the other thing to know. Like, getting present with the bees isn't more correct than getting caught in your head about something that might or might not happen. And I think that's the nice thing. There isn't the judgment. Whatever's being brought to life has been brought to life by the same energy. And I do think something that Sid said continuously from the moment he woke up, in all of his talks, he'll speak, it's not the content of what you're thinking. It's not what you're experiencing. That's not what I'm interested in, and that's not where the magic is. The magic is in knowing that there's something before that creates that. And that's the space that we are. Someone sent something to Kate earlier, and she sent it to me, and it was saying that there's a place within us of nothingness, a spacious nothingness, and everything else almost comes from that, but it's as substantial as the space it comes from, and it's everything and it's nothing. It's a really lovely piece, but I think just knowing that there isn't a wrong and a right. And just recently I've seen why. I've got a friend called Paul, he said in the end you just like, there is no words for this, but that wake up, it's just a new beginning, and then every moment's a new beginning. And like seeing Paul, you're sat there, you've got your blinds open. You didn't have your blinds open earlier, and then you suddenly realised I'm sat in a dark room, 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
You've done your makeup and you've combed your hair.
And it's but just knowing, like, we don't see it until we see it. Why am I sat in a dark room at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? What's going on? But that's the temporary nature of the mind, and how easy it is to get lost in whatever it's created, and we give it so much attention. But it's transitory, it's momentary. But the awareness and the observer and the space from which it comes doesn't change, doesn't go anywhere. And it is so much simpler than we think. We make this life so complicated. Like when my mum was having since she's had her last appointment, she kind of thought she was going to then like walk out. And they've said, right, you can start putting some weight on it. And the mobility and the movement in it is limited. And she knows it's going to be a bit of a while before she can actually walk. And she's felt herself almost deflate. And one of the things she said, she's, I know I need to get back into this, the principles and think about this differently. And I just said, why? Like right now, you're just fed up. You've done amazingly over the last 8 weeks. You're just fed up. You don't have to get your mind into another place than what it is in. There isn't that need when we start to understand what the mind is. But then also you do see, like Paul today, I could open my curtains and it's really beautiful, and I could go out on my bike, or I could go for a walk. But it doesn't occur to us until it occurs to us. Like you can't, I think it's probably something you've always said, you can't get life wrong. There isn't a wrong and a right. And we'll never have a comparison that we can compare it to, unless we look at someone else's life and think they've got it right, and then we compare ours. But how we could ever know, because you don't know what's going on inside people's minds. I think that's been the most interesting thing about this work, is you'll meet people and then you end up maybe working with them, and on the outside it looks like they're so together, and then they tell you their internal world, and like, wow, you're just as crazy as I am. Like it's that ordinary, and everyone's got their own version of it, like their own insanity. Like there's times when Dave just looks at me and he is like, what the hell? Why would that bother you? Why would you be caught up about that? And there's times I look at you, I'm like, how could you be that annoyed, or how could you be that frustrated, and how could you have that much like venom towards someone in a moment and then have compassion for them in the next moment?
I know you can end up looking schizophrenic.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, your dad asked me earlier
bipolar or
if you
something.
could sum up Dave in a word or a sentence, and I couldn't think of anything. And then I was like, contradiction.
Sexy stuff.
Contradiction is what
Oh.
came to mind. Like just the depth of like love and connection and stillness and just beauty, and then it can be like, and then it can be back down again. And I think that contradiction of, and I said it's like Rusty. Rusty is exactly, you've definitely raised him, because he's exactly like it. He can be the cutest, sweetest, most like just adorable thing, and then it's like, then he's biting your hand off for no reason that you can see. But I think that's the beauty of this life stuff. It's not about being a guru or like being. It's just everyday and ordinary.
May I just say something?
Yeah.
That's
Well, it
where
depends.
that's where so much suffering is created. You see, we live in a society where you've got to make it. We have to make it. We have to make it at school, first of all. You have to make it till you make it within your exams. You've got to make it at work. You've got to make it. And all that requires so much effort and thought and concentration and time and stress. And we're always trying to make it. And then we approach life. And at some point in our life, when we realize the sham of that idea, I've been trying to fucking make it all this time, but I know there's something more to life. I'm going to go in search of that. Right, I'm going to give up all this crap I'm doing now. I'm going to go on this search for this thing that I know exists. There must be something more to life. I'm going to go and look for it. And we approach it with the same respect as what we've approached school and work, and trying to make it to this space, trying to make it to this enlightenment, trying to make it to this moment which is going to change my fucking life. Trying to make it. Every time we try and make it, we're looking in the wrong direction. We're walking around looking in the wrong direction every single time we're trying to make it.
We're also saying to ourselves, we're not it.
This isn't something you can make it at. Life isn't something you can make it at. You've already made it. You've already made it. You are here. You are this magical existence. You are this infinite potential. You've already made it. This is it. This moment is as spiritual as any other moment you will ever encounter. It's all made of the same stuff. You're perfect. Every single one of us is perfect. Just cover it up with stories and effectively lies we tell ourselves and other people. Misunderstandings. Excuses. All ego is a lie. It's a misidentification. It's misidentification of God, thinking it is a limited thing. It's the infinite believing it is limited. It is the ocean thinking it's a wave. Lisa, do you want to say something? Yeah.
I was just going to say a poem that came to mind based on what you're talking about. Can you hear me okay? Because I know
Not the wouldn't it one, is it?
Wouldn't it? No. Can you hear me all right? I came across a poem by E.H., can't remember the surname. And I used to have it on my wall, and in the end, oh, thank you, Molly. And in the end, I gave it to a friend because she loved it. And it goes, life is amazing, and then it's awful, and then it's amazing again. And in between the amazing and the awful is the ordinary, the mundane, and the routine. Breathe in the amazing, hold on during the awful, and exhale during the ordinary. Because that's just awful, heartbreaking, soul healing, awful, ordinary life, and it's breathtakingly beautiful. And I loved that poem. I do love that poem, and I didn't need it anymore because it was like ingrained in my soul. And it just shows that. Can you hear? Am I still there, Dave? Yeah, it just shows that it really is fluid. Absolutely everything is fluid. It's all just a fluidity of experience continually, which is going to have all the spectrum of life on it, and it's breathtakingly beautiful. I had a really cool conversation with a friend actually this morning who is having a baby imminently, and their builders have let them down so hugely. They're like 2 months behind, and they've all fallen out, and they say they're going to meet the deadlines, and they don't meet the deadlines, they don't even turn up. And it was so nice to have this conversation with him because he was in absolute turmoil, and his wife's in turmoil. They're due to have a baby, and there's no builders on site, but they're going to be coming back on site, and they're probably going to have a newborn baby, and it's going to be all this banging and all this noise, and you could see like he was in the future of what it was going to look like, and and we managed to have a really cool conversation, and it was based on the observations of just noticing my own life and other people's lives, and how nothing stays the same and it always changes. It's always changing. When a situation looks like it's fixed, it's really not. It's just passing through. And it was really beautiful, this conversation, because you could tell when he settled and noticed that. Like, you know, the hardest times you ever think you're going to get through in life, they do change. And even within that hardest time, there'll be times when you're pissing yourself laughing and it'll have all its kaleidoscopes of colours and experiences within life, because that's just life, isn't it? And I just loved that poem because it's when it says that awful ordinary life and it's breathtakingly beautiful. It's the tune into that's within you. It's not outside of you anywhere. That breathtakingly beautiful is what we're made of. And with that breathtakingly beautiful is the ordinary, the mundane, and the routine. And they're breathtakingly beautiful. It's really easy to forget that when we're in those times when maybe we're not noticing what's going on. There's that relief of when you do notice it. And it's always a gift. And you're always grateful.
Thanks, Lise.
Cheers, Lou.
Does anyone else want to say anything?
Big Mac's looking twitchy. Do you want to say something?
I haven't got any portrait this year. I'm sorry. You know, for a split second, I was like really pissed off there. I was like, you know, here's some fucking reality. I'm not fucking happy. And then I went, oh, you're just doing it again. there was that little conversation went on in my head. Oh, but I'm sorry I'm late. I was I thought after me tea, I thought, oh, I feel a bit tired. Everything's been a bit emotional recently. I'm gonna have a bit of a nap. So yeah, I had a nap and that lasted an hour and a half. Hence I'm late. So I'm really sorry for that. I did intend on being here on time. I'm really grateful for your phone call today, Jen. It helped snap us out of me like self-inflicting. I was making me a little bad moment worse with the blinds shut and stuff like that. And when you said, "Is it sunny?" You know, I'd see the sunlight trying to break through the blinds, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, but I'm not fucking sunny, so I don't want to see the sunshine. I want to sit here and mope. And this is all in the name of of supposedly being there for me mum. For those who don't know me, my stepdad passed away at the weekend, really suddenly and unexpectedly. And I took some time off work so I can be there for my mum. And then today, I kind of, through talking to Jen, I found myself sitting in my room with my blinds shut, being of no help to anyone, not of help to myself, not of help to my mum, in the aid of thinking I'm doing right when I'm just really like making a big fuck up of today. And I managed to get out and kind of my days went on. I've had a few smiles today, so that's good. But yeah, so I just had that little conversation just after Lisa did that really like beautiful poem, and I just for a really quick second there was like a little bit of a lash out in my head of like, well, I'm not fucking feeling that. I'm feeling really quite miserable. And it just really quickly changed to like, what are you doing? What are you doing, you know? Like, she's just read a really nice poem. Just because you're not feeling it right now, it doesn't mean anything. Oh. So yeah. So sorry, Lisa. I didn't mean anything by it. And with that, I'll mute myself again. Thank you.
Cheers, Bonnie lad.
Just to thanks for the apology, Paul. So you should. Only kidding. But as I turned the microphone off, the person I was just talking about was ringing me.
Oh,
Magical.
there you go. All one, all in one. We're all one. In one. All one, in one.
Anyone? Oh,
I was just gonna comment a bit on what Paul said there. Like, it's so interesting. The whole experience of life comes from one singular place. It comes from within our being. It comes from consciousness. It comes from the divine spark, the breath of life, whatever you want to call it. And it's all born the same way. And some of it, for example, well, I'm not feeling that. I'm feeling really quite miserable. As Paul, to quote Paul, I think that was roughly what he said. Like, that looks really so different to the rest of it. Like, that's more real. And in that moment, it is. Because that's all that there is in that moment. It's interesting because it looks like our experience moves through time. But time moves through our experience. And because we have this capacity to imagine time, we imagine a future, we remember the past, we create this illusion of time, which takes us out of the moment, takes us out of reality. As in the reality on earth as it sits right now. And if you really look at it, 99.9% of times when you are sat in utter fucking turmoil, you are absolutely fine. You are absolutely fine. the majority of suffering is based in time. Or should I say, yeah, I'll say the majority. The majority of suffering is based in our idea of time. The not now. And all the not nows look real. All of the not nows look real. Now. Our mind just endlessly creating experiences, endlessly creating experiences, endlessly creating experiences. There is a reason why we do talk about this. It's not just so we can see this and go, oh, there you go. No, see it. But once you wake up to it, you then become more canny. Like Paul. Well, I'm not feeling that. I'm feeling really quite miserable. Fucking hell, look at that one. There we go again. It's like once you start to understand that your mind is the generator of experience, your life, you become more canny with it. It's not that I suddenly woke up and stopped having violent thought. Violent thought was my thing. Aggression was my thing. I still have violent thought. Thoughts still run through my mind. Perhaps I'm on it for 30, 40 seconds before I catch my, oh dear, look at that. Perhaps I'm on it for 10 minutes. Not so long ago, I remember driving down the road with you and I was going fucking mental at a certain politician. Never even met the man in my life. What I was going to do to him if I ever got my hands on him. All these thoughts came rushing in. My attention landed on this particular politician. And the moment my attention landed on this particular politician, my mind set to and creating a reality about it. And what I was going to do to this man, I remember screaming, and at the end of it, I had to apologize to you. You know, I'm so sorry about that. Bang. Caught it. It was gone. My body took a little while to catch up. My body, the adrenaline that I'd produced, as though I was actually going to go into a scrap, took a little while for the adrenaline and the cortisol to quieten down. So my body still felt stressed. My body was still up for it if my mind wanted to go there. Because the body's just a slave to the mind.
You see where it comes from, because I was just sat in the van like, wow, I'm really glad that's not me right now, because that looks horrible. I don't think I've ever experienced that level of anger and the things that you come up with that you can do. I'm like, it amazes me.
Poetic, isn't it?
It amazes me. I'm like, I don't think my mind's ever been, I don't think I've ever felt that angry, or I don't know, I've never experienced it. So it's such a weird thing just to observe and then watch it completely kind of just dissipate, and then this sane person come back. But I know that I can get totally lost if I've got insecure or jealous or something's consumed me, that Dave can just be like, why and how are you so consumed in that feeling? You're so lost in it. Like, it makes absolutely no sense to you. But in my world, it's my reality. It's true. In your world, that was your reality. It was fully alive. But you see that the life that we put into it brings it to life, because everything you were saying meant nothing to me. The words, like, it didn't then start making me feel riled up to feel angry. I'm like, it's a poor bloke. I think he's probably got kids and a family that probably like him quite a lot. Like, give him a break. I wonder if he's I wonder if his ears are burning.
I don't know if his wife likes him too much at the moment.
No, probably not. But you see, like, just that example is, it's us breathing life into it and making it real. Otherwise, everyone else would experience it. But just the humanness, and I think it took me a good few years to be able to stay in my well-being and my space, because whenever you used to do that, I'd get so anxious and like almost want to make it better and like make it calm down and try and almost contain it or control it, because I was terrified of it. It was never aimed at me, but it terrified me seeing someone that angry and that like furious. I always say like triple in size. But it's been so helpful to see that it's like it comes and it goes. And I think I've always been so afraid of people losing their temper with me or getting told off, or just that kind of thing has always been something I've been afraid of. I've never really experienced it myself, but my mum used to have, like, she used to get so angry, like 0 to 100. And I was always terrified of it. And I've just seen it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything about me. It doesn't mean anything about you. It doesn't mean anything about the world. It's like,
Just
it's
means
just
what's going through your
experience.
mind in that moment.
But there is no
real.
feeling that we have to fear. Like there's something in being able to witness that and not get dragged in or pulled down. Like I've learned from it. It's allowed me to see the temporary, momentary nature of experience, and that it's all allowed. I mean, there's times where we've been around people and I'm like, can you not use that language? Just, can you go in that room and use that language and have your little like Tourette's moment rather than this room? Because there's children in here. And I'll say to you, I remember we did a tree job once. It was probably one of the first times I saw you really lose your temper. And he'd taken his helmet off and drop kicked it across the lawn. And he was effing and blinding. And I was like, do you know that the customer's watching? He's like, I don't care who's watching. I was like, I just thought I'd let you know in case that changed how you're behaving. And it's like,
No, I'm being a dickhead. Right now, I'm being a dickhead.
But I think I've seen, like, I've got that level of awareness or control of, like, I wouldn't want someone else to see me misbehaving or acting like a dick, so I'd like contain it, whereas you haven't got that filter of it matters what someone else thinks. But I've definitely got that over so many things. Like I did a skydive and didn't even make a sound because I was too embarrassed.
Not even a fart.
No, nothing. Didn't even, I don't know, I felt like I held my breath. But he just said he'd never done a skydive with someone that made no sound. That I was that controlled that I could not scream even though I was terrified. But it's like, I think we've learned quite a lot of things from one another, and that's the thing, if you look at life, you learn. You can learn from anything. And I think the thing that Goodell, who sometimes comes to group out in South Africa, that man, whenever he shares, he's always looking to what can be learned, what can be seen.
Where's the beauty? And
I think he will always find beauty in any situation. And in some of the stories that people were telling, like he'd still find the small piece of hope or the kindness that was shown.
The message. The message you could find in it.
But how easy it is just to get lost in our story, and it's so important, and we don't necessarily learn. But I think we will continually things get brought to our table. And if we don't learn, it seems we get brought them again, again and again. And that's just an observation. I don't know if that's true, but from my life, and I've kind of seen it with you, like if we don't listen and we don't learn, we'll just keep getting presented with similar situations. And then as soon as you learn, it's almost like they vanish. I remember George Pransky
creating the situation,
telling a story of he got a sense of the principles, and it felt like his one exception was, this is true, but not for paedophiles. They're evil. They haven't got innate health. They haven't got goodness within them. And then he said every single client he got was court ordered to see him was someone who was on a sex offenders list or a paedophile. And he said within that time, he saw his own ego and his own judgment, and he got to meet people, and he got to fall in love with people who had done some awful things. And he said it was like the moment he realised, oh, even those people too, this is even true for them. He said people stopped getting sent to him. And he just said it was like he had to see something with it. But life brought him what he needed. And then it kind of, his understanding of the principles then deepened, because there wasn't an exception. It was total. It was, this is a truth that's before, and it's total. It isn't these people, but not these people. And I think that's one of the things that seems to happen for people, is we become really good learners again. When we come across the principles, we get to learn. We get curious. We get more like children. Like if you see children who have had, like Archie with his arm, when he had his arm in the cast, you wouldn't really have known it. He didn't really go on about it. He just got on with things. He adapted. And my mum was saying she knows that when she's had other things before, as she's got older, she's got more and more thinking about it, what it means. Oh my God, what if I can never walk again? And she's all this future thinking. Whereas actually, when we are in the moment, we just learn and adapt. It's what we're built to do.
It's like as we get older, it can, for many people, it can be, rather than the mind opening with age, it becomes more narrow and closed.
Well, it's almost, we've got more life experience. We think, oh, but I know this.
Yeah.
I know what this means. I know what it's going to look. We know stuff, which narrows our mind.
Yeah, and it's that knowledge. It's that sense of knowledge. And that is that story in the Bible of the Garden of Eden, and when Eve ate from the tree of knowledge, they were cast out of paradise. All because they thought they knew something, they created an ego. This is it. If you look at children are closer to the truth. You know, you ask kids, you talk to kids, and you just see their open books. They're just open. Little sponges. Everything's new to them in every single moment. Their experience goes up and down like that without judgment. None of that, oh fucking hell, I've done that, I must have bipolar. Well, this, you know, earlier on I was really happy and now I'm really sad. Must be bipolar. Better go see a doctor. Kids don't do that. Kids just experience. If you want to enter the kingdom, you must become like the child, Jesus H. Christ. The kingdom being that is within you. The glory, the space of glory, the place of absolute, majestic, unbreakable love. It is within you. It is behind this reality. This reality is a facade. It's like a, what's it called? A laminate. It's like a laminate. It looks like it's real wood. You scratch the surface of it and you realize it's not real wood. Fucking hell, it's laminate. This reality is like a laminate for the true reality. It's a laminate. That's all it is. I say it's all it is. It's everything. It's everything to us. I'm not going to knock it down by saying it's all it is, but it is what it is. It's a laminate because underneath it there is something else. And it's not this experience you are experiencing. It doesn't look like this. It looks like utter beauty and perfection. It is the most beautiful thing. Dad's just got bitten.
She's taking him for a walk as well. He's been in such a nice mood all day.
He's a little arsehole tonight. many people, when they have near-death experiences, they talk about this. Can you hear that? Can you actually hear that? Bear with.
Take some.
I don't know. I mean, Rusty is definitely his own dog.
He's definitely his own dog.
I mean, he's definitely his own dog. He's about 500 different dogs in one dog.
Creature.
The thing is, when we were out on gear and he ate loads of sand, and then we ended up having to take him to the mainland in Scotland on a Sunday, pay for a vet, then he had to stay in overnight on a drip, and he was saying if the medicine didn't work to get the sand out, he was going to have an operation. And that night we were like, we don't care if he gets angry, we just want him to be all right, and like we don't care if
I
he's
wish
like
he could
this.
bite me now.
Yeah, I'd love him to bite me now. And there's times when he's been sick and we've been like, we'd do anything to hear that like tip, 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 tapping around. Because often he'll just walk around on the carpet, or there's just a noise, isn't it? And then he'll go on there and you realise that you do anything to hear that sound, or you do anything to be bitten by him again. But in the moment, you don't see it.
I remember going to the Manjushri. Lise Valentine will probably know it because she's from around here, and Mrs. like. It's the Buddhist temple near us, and I remember I love going there. I don't know if it's on at the moment, but prayers for world peace on a Sunday. Like you go and there'll be a monk or a nun that will give a talk, and then you do a meditation for the world, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. But one story that I always remembered was this Tibetan monk nun, and she was so sweet. She was tiddly, she was tiny, she was just the most beautiful lady. And she talked about this time when she has a dog, and she used to live in London, and she used to just get the dog, stick it in the back of the car, and they go to the park, and they go for a walk. The dog would chase sticks, it would go in the pond, the dog would jump in the back of the car, we'd go home. And she said, and then I got a new car. She said it had leather seats. She said, all of a sudden, blankets were being put down before the dog got in the back. And the dog was getting cleaned before it was put back in the car. And she said, and then one day, the dog tried to jump from the back into the front. And as it did, it clawed the center console, the leather on the center console, and scratched it. And she said, I was livid. I was so angry. My dog has just scratched my new car, the leather on my new car. I'm never going to be able to get that out. Never going to be able to remove that leather scratch. And then she said, and then it occurred to me. In the future, I'll look back at that leather scratch and I'll be so thankful for it. There'll come a time when I look back at that leather scratch and I will have fondness and love for that leather scratch. I remember it being one of the most beautiful stories.
That helped me with my car, didn't it? So I've got leather seats. And he jumps around all over it. There's literally rusty prints and scratches all over
He's in it right now.
The thing is, I used to have a really clean car, and it was like I clean it very regularly or get it cleaned very regularly. And then with Rusty, there's just no point because there's just dog hair everywhere. He's constantly climbing around, and I think that story really meant something to me, and it has changed me. And I remember trying to say it to my dad, and he was just like, "Oh no, I don't want scratches in my car."
You see what we take so seriously and what we trouble ourselves with. When you really look at the things It's often with hindsight, you look at yourself and go, why the hell did that bother me? Why did I allow myself to get so wound up about that in that moment? That's all that was going on. That was it. It couldn't be any other way. It can only be some other way with a change of thought, with a change of vibration of energy. When you start to see that, you start to give yourself a break. And when you start to give yourself a break, you're taking so much off your own mind. Your mind is becoming quieter just by giving yourself a break because you've fucked up. We all fuck up. If there is such a thing as getting us fucking up, there isn't. There isn't such a thing as fucking up. There's just experience. Ultimately, there's just love. And sometimes it takes form in wanting to do horrible things to politicians. And sometimes it takes form in how many packets of Crimbles have we got through this week? And sometimes it takes form in, aren't the clouds beautiful?
And isn't it amazing just to sit here and watch a pair of spotted flycatchers mating?
You're watching them, and Mum's watching two spotted flycatchers. Apparently they're mating, aren't they? Mating, Mum?
Yeah, they have been twice.
Avert your eyes.
No, I'm enjoying the moment.
Dirty bitch. That's my mother. You see where I get me. Well, my sister gets a filthy lifestyle from,
It's
can't you?
beautiful.
Mum watching two spotted flycatchers having it off.
She rang me when she was on holiday and she went, guess what I'm watching? I said, what? She went, two peacocks mating. I said, you pervert.
Quick, take a picture.
Guess what I saw on my walk? I saw these two beetles on some bracken. Mating. Animal perv. Hang on. We've got a new label. Animal pervert. Sorry, Mum. I love you.
That's not new, Lise.
Why do you have it?
Hey?
It's a recreation of life. It's wonderful.
It's majestic, isn't it, Mother?
It's
Reprocreation.
it is a spotted flycatchers because they don't reproduce very well around here.
Do they not?
But he's hoping. Got my fingers crossed for these two.
Fingers crossed, Mum. God's sake. Bless you. Anyway, anybody want to say anything? I've got 10 minutes left. Lise Valentine.
Is it both a blessing and a curse that you both have this understanding? Because, you know, like you with your anger and stuff, and then Jen, like you were saying, you had a couple of days where you were like, oh, nobody likes me and stuff, and Dave must be thinking, what are you talking about? That's just so not true. You're just thinking that. So is it both a blessing and a curse that you have this understanding?
Never a curse.
No, never a curse. No, that's the wrong thing. But like you were saying, Jen, you know, you're like, what? How can you be so angry about that? And
I
then
wouldn't
you
say that out loud in the moment, just so you know. You wouldn't say it out. Like, I can say it now.
yeah.
In the moment, I would be like, why are you saying that? Can't you see that you, like, I would never try.
Did you know, Dave? It's just a thought.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
I think the cool thing is you just allow people to be what they are, and you don't need them to be different.
Yeah.
And I think you take it less personally.
Yeah.
My niece at the moment's going through a hard time, so pretty much every time I could try going to her room, she's like, fuck off. I'm like, all right. I'm like, I never would have spoken to my auntie like that, but I spoke to her the other night, and I said I'd love it when we come back if we could go out for dinner, like with your sister, and I said, you know, it'd be nice to see you without you telling me to fuck off. And she said, oh, I'm telling everyone to fuck off. It's not personal. And I said, no, I know it isn't. Like, I still think it's rude, but I didn't say that to her, but it's just, it's not personal. And I think when you see it's not personal, then you allow people to go in and out of their moods and experiences. And then sometimes you do take it personally and you react, and that's fine too. But the cool thing is, like, I can see how throughout my life, even before this understanding, there'd be times I take things personally and times I didn't. There's times when I just have understanding that someone's having a hard time, and other times it'd all be about me. So regardless of whether we think we've come across the three principles, we've always been this understanding, and we've always been in and out of experience. We've always kind of interacted in different ways. It highlights something, but it's not something that we suddenly have once we hear the three principles. We're just aware that we've actually always had this. So I know that for myself, like, I often would see separate realities. Like, I'd really get a sense. So you always used to have, be a really good diplomat or mediator.
Cold answer.
Or mediator, because I got a sense of other people, this seems really real to them and this seems really real to them. Like, I've always kind of seen that even before the principles. So there's not really life with the principles and life without the principles.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Yes.
Totally.
We've always, and when I work with people, I love to point out where they're already seeing it and where they've already had amazing insight, because this isn't something new, it's something we're born with. And we're pointing it out, but it's not suddenly more because of that. So there isn't really with understanding and without understanding, because there'll be elements of understanding within people regardless.
There was never the world without principles, without the principles.
But do you know, like when you had those few days when you were like, oh gosh, everybody hates me and stuff, do you not go through that? But I should know better. Or does it just
really
feel
it this time?
Huh? You really fell for it this
really
time.
indulged in it this time, and I was thinking, maybe actually this is true this time. Maybe actually this is it. I am a terrible person. It's really nice just to, just be like, it was weird. And then when I got out of it, I was like, wow. But it's not manufactured. Like, it's, I don't know. It doesn't matter what we think we know.
Oh, tea's ready.
9 o'clock.
Yeah,
Right.
It's not as manufactured as that. It's so every day.
There's nothing to do. This isn't about getting anywhere, like we said right at the beginning of the talk. It's not about getting anywhere.
That's what I fall for every time.
Many people do.
Yeah.
Probably people think, oh, if only this other person had the understanding. I don't know if it necessarily matters. It is nice to be able to have conversations, and we very rarely talk about it with each other. But I don't think it's for us anyway. As we change, we see different, we communicate different, so the interaction immediately changes. So I don't think it doesn't make a huge difference. I don't think if one person's come across it and one person hasn't, or both.
Right.
Because it's for us. And as we change, everything we look at changes.
I know people who've been in the principles for years, neurotic as fuck. And I know people who are just everyday street people, just kind and generous and quiet. It's got nothing to do with the principles. The principles ultimately do not exist. They're words to describe what appear to be different aspects of different things, like finger, thumb, palm.
Yeah.
It's all one thing. And the one thing is you. Everybody and everything is it. Everything is the ultimate perfection. There is this appearance of I'm not good enough. There is an appearance of I'm not getting this right. And if you really look at why you think you're not getting life right, it's because you are experiencing feelings that you dislike. That's the only reason why you think you're actually getting life wrong, because you are experiencing feelings that you don't like. So therefore, you confuse that having a feeling that feels uncomfortable with getting life wrong. Why do we make that assumption? Where did that assumption actually come from in the first place? Because it's a false assumption. It's not getting life wrong if we feel bad. It's a feeling.
Mm.
What is a feeling without the judgment?
Mm.
What is the feeling without the label of right, wrong, good, or bad? If you
Mm.
have, what is a feeling sat on its own in its pure, rawest form? What is suffering in its pure, rawest form if it hasn't got attached to it the label, this is wrong?
Yeah.
What is it in its most natural state?
Yeah.
What are all feelings in their most
Wow.
natural state?
Just feelings.
Just feeling.
Yeah. Not good, bad, right or wrong.
See, this is the story we tell ourselves. And the more
Mm.
we start telling ourselves the story gets deeper and gets deeper and gets deeper and gets deeper and gets deeper. Before you know it, everything that we've been trying to eliminate is growing and growing and growing and growing and growing, all because we misunderstood feeling,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
because we misunderstood thought. You see, everybody's perfect.
Yeah.
Go back to words and labels again. Separation, right, wrong, good, bad. Right, wrong, good, bad. It's like the body, it's all the body.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
It's a massive industry built on the idea of wrong feelings. It's worth billions of dollars. And it's a really sad state of affairs because everybody is fine. Everybody's whole, everybody is perfect. This is just a story. Right now is just a story. This reality, whatever reality we are in right now, unless we're dead, we are in a reality of Earth, a reality of humanity, a reality of being human, and it's yours, solely yours. It's your journey, it's your drama. It's like it's my drama, it's Jenny's drama. In the beginning, there is nothing, and everything is born of nothing. Fuck knows how. But you can't have something without nothing. Same way you can't have nothing without something. The two are integral. Like you can't have light without dark, or wet without dry. It takes it all to create this drama. All the dualities, up and down, inside and outside, over here and over there, left and right, night and day, land and sea, land and air. These are all just labels to describe the formation taken by force, by the force, if you're a Jedi.
I was just going to say, Dave, that I'm looking at my book of North American Indians on my bookshelf, and all this seems so new to our culture, and in a way, but it is what we're made of. This is us. And when I look at, I've looked into lots and lots of different cultures, from like people who live in the rainforests, like the Peyote tribe, that Bruce Parry goes to see, and the North American Indians, and they hand it to the Great Spirit. So anything that happens is from the Great Spirit. And it's an acceptance always of everything that comes, even to the atrocities that happen to those people. They trust the Great Spirit that lives and creates and breeds them and brings them their world. they trust that. And I love that Dave and Jen and we're all on this call together, because ultimately that's what's being pointed at, is this great invisible creator, and having a faith in something that's bigger than our minutiae portion of this entirety. And that faith that this is ordinary to those cultures, but it's that trust and that faith in whatever it is that puts us together. That like Dave was saying, it won't be wrong. It just is. And we'll always grow through those times that we think are like that we'll never overcome. When you look back at the thread of life, it's all a weave, the whole thing. We always like that, like the seasons, like the flowers outside. I'm looking at a peony, it's absolutely massive. It's just about to go inside out. It wasn't there a few months ago. You know, it blossoms, it flowers, it dies back, it hibernates, it comes back up again. And like somebody once said on one of the calls, a beautiful Indian lady, she said, you know, the soil's brown and the water's crystal clear, yet it grows colour. You know, what puts the colour in this stuff? If we go beyond our humanness and this little energy field between my body and this outer stuff, it's still the same. You know, we're living in this stuff, but there's so much creation. It all comes from somewhere, and I think that's the beauty of life, is to find that curiosity into what creates. What's creating me this experience? Never find it, because it just is, just does what, you know, we don't know, but we can trust it.
I think faith's something that comes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Faith that comes, you acquire it.
You get familiar.
Yeah.
The lessons that get brought bring you the faith.
Yeah. And I feel like faith is often brought to people. You often come across people who go through deep struggle. They suddenly acquire a faith or a knowing that there is a deeper aspect to themselves and to this universe. And just what occurred to me just then, it's like you said, you start to develop faith in whatever puts us together. And many people don't like that word faith. It's like, oh, it's too esoteric. It's too, is that a word? Religious, yeah, that kind of thing. And it's like, what I just wrote down effectively is, you know, some people prefer not to go down that route. I don't want to get involved in that kind of hippie bullshit or that kind of religious bullshit or that spiritual bullshit. I don't want to get involved in that. I'm a realist. I'm a science person. I believe in science. But when you really look at science, science is all it is a trying to figure out how that whatever put us together, as Lisa calls it, did it. That's all science is. It's the study of how did the creator create this? That's what science is. How did the creator create this, and what can we do with it? Because all our technological advances are simply discoveries of pre-existing natural order. Radio waves, 5G, so pre-existing states of natural order. Cars, aeroplanes. It's all pre-existing states of natural order that we figure out how to use it. That's all it is. We figure out how to use the laws of nature. But the laws are always existent. There are laws we haven't discovered yet. that are going to change our world. So whether we like it or not, whether people of science like it or not, they're studying how this creative energy created it and how can we use it. It's just
It's just noticing. It's just noticing it. There's nothing other to do than to notice life. Feel it beat in your heart. Feel it rise in your lungs, fall in your lungs. That's it.
cool, everyone. Thanks, Lisa. Thank you so much for tonight. Just it.
No, just thank you for everyone for coming. It's been really nice. And sorry for all the interruptions.
Yeah, sorry about that. Thanks, Hyde.
And we're here again next week.
Next Thursday, 7 o'clock.
Not necessarily here, but
Somewhere. Online.
And we're hoping we're going to look into it for people who are local to try and see next month when it opens up whether we can start doing them in person again. We still live stream, but get a few more in person ones happening again.
I know Lise Valentine, you're asking about that.
Yeah, that would be lovely. Just
And
like
then if you fancy a drive up.
I'd get to see my dog.
We don't know
Everyone.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yes, thank you. Bye.